It's Friday night, and I'm heading home. Emily, my secretary and right-hand man, and I spent the day making decisions. We were both suffering from brain drain. Things were happening fast. We had new contracts, and production was in full swing. It had been a long week, and I was looking forward to showering, drinking a beer, and reclining in my chair. Honey, I'm home. I'm in the bedroom. I walk in and see her sitting in front of her dresser. She is meticulously applying her makeup. I also see a new outfit. I don't remember seeing it before. Wow, baby, that's a great outfit. It's new, right? Yes, I bought them especially for tonight. Okay, where are we going? We're not going anywhere. I'm going out to dinner. Oh, I see. Girls' night out? No, I'm going out with this man I met at work. He invited me to dinner. I took a couple steps back, and everything around me went white. It was like someone had turned my brain off. The next thing I know, I'm sitting in my chair with the remote in my hand. Out of the corner of my eye, I see movement and turn my head. Through the fog are bits and pieces of my surroundings. My wife is standing there looking at me. She is dressed for an evening out. A little black dress, 5-inch heels on her feet. I just sit there and stare at her. I don't know how long I'll be. Don't wait up for me. I see her lips move, but the sound is not picked up by my brain. I don't know how long I sit like this before the fog starts to clear. Everything looks familiar, but the house seems empty. And then it hits me. My wife, who I've been with for over 20 years, has just walked out the door to have dinner with some guy. Without any discussion, just walked out. Did she really think I would be okay with that? Did she really think I would just sit at home and wait for her to come back? I don't remember saying anything to her. I feel a cold emptiness forming in my chest. It gradually gets bigger and bigger. Then I am overcome with anger and a rush of adrenaline. I hear screaming and realize it's me. My fists clench, ready to strike, but there is nothing to hit with. I realize it's a fight or flight response. I can't fight, so fleeing is my only option. Where I'm going, what I need to take with me. I need money and clothes. Where to? I'll figure out later. I find myself standing in the kitchen. Why am I here? I stand for a moment and then slowly take off my wedding ring. I set it down on the table. I think about leaving a note, but quickly dismiss the thought. This will say it all. I go to the garage and pull out 2 large suitcases and my Valpak. After packing everything I can think of, I go into the garage and stow it all in my car. I go to my office and gather all my paperwork, my laptop, and my phone charger. I push the garage door opener button and get out. I click it again and drop the remote on the driveway. I won't be needing it again. I pull away, gripping the steering wheel with such force that my knuckles turn white. I reach into my pocket and pull out a money clip. It looks like I had about $50 or $60. I stop at the mini-mart and withdraw the maximum at the ATM. I find a Motel 6 near my office building and check in. As I leave the office, I see Denny's Cafe across the street and realize I haven't eaten since breakfast. I decide to see if I can eat. My stomach is tied in knots, but I have to try. A young blonde woman in a traditional Denny's outfit walks up. Her name tag says, Mona. Hi, what can I get you? Hi, Mona, let's start with a cup of coffee. She comes back with my coffee and I order a patty melt and fries. It tastes like cardboard, but I manage to get most of it down. After another batch of coffee, I pay and leave. I left Mona a $1 tip. I go to my room and turn on the TV. I lie down, resting my head on the armrest. I lay there feeling sorry for myself until I fall asleep. The next morning, I decide to escape for a while and head to our cabin in the mountains. I need some time to think. I call the office and leave a message for Emily, telling her that I'm taking a few days off and that she can call me if something comes up that she can't handle. On the way out of town, I stop by the supermarket. I buy a case of Bud Light and a dozen TV dinners. There's a liquor store nearby, and I buy a bottle of Lord Calvert. Hopefully, this will help defrost the cold spot in my gut. Next chapter. Turning on the main switch, I stow the TV dinners in the fridge. While the DirecTV set-top box boots up, I take all the covers off the furniture. I find the remote and press it. Nothing. I rummage through the junk drawer and find some batteries. Finally, I turn on the TV. I need something to distract me from my cluttered thoughts. I had enough of that on the trip here. I change into my sweatpants and sit down in the chair. CNN is interviewing the police chief about the latest mass shooting. Fox News talking heads are freaking out about the FBI not pressing charges against Hillary over her emails, and MSNBC is interviewing relatives of those killed in the mass shooting. I switch to the movie channels. I walk to the refrigerator and pull out the package and my square bottle. I set them on the coffee table in front of me. 3 sips of hard liquor and a can of beer, and I'm on my way. 3 more and another can of beer, and darkness takes over. The cold spot and the anger goes away. Tina. I told Don not to wait for me, but he just sat there looking at me. I thought, okay, I can handle the silent treatment. Maybe he'll want to talk when I get back. That would be his choice. He won't be silent forever. He'll be hurt, but we'll get through it and everything will be okay. He will know that he is the love of my life, and I will be the perfect wife for the rest of our lives. I turn and walk out the door. As soon as I pull out of the driveway, I think of Jason. The anticipation of what is about to happen overwhelms me. I park outside the hotel and walk up to the front desk. Jason is standing there smiling from ear to ear. Hi, Tina. You sure look beautiful today. Thanks, Jason. He reaches out and takes my hand and leads me into the restaurant. The host seats us, and the cupbearer appears. He orders champagne. I have to say, Tina, I've been looking forward to this evening. I'm so glad you agreed to meet me. So am I. Dinner and dancing are always on my list of pleasant ways to spend an evening. Things will get much more enjoyable afterward. I guarantee it. We had a nice dinner, and the host seated us next to the dance floor. Jason wastes no time. The band starts a slow song, and he pulls me to the floor. He's a great dancer, and it feels like we're floating on a cloud. 3 songs later, we return to the table. Another bottle of champagne appears, and our glasses are filled. We make light conversation. Let's go up to my room and have another glass. The door to the room closes, and we end up on the bed. Of course, we have fun and later fall asleep. The next morning, I showered, put on a little makeup, and got dressed. As I drive up to the house, I hope he is still asleep and not waiting for me. I won't be able to face him in the state I'm in now. I need to think about what I'm going to say to him. I walk into the kitchen to see if he's sitting there. A glimmer of light on the table catches my attention. I move closer and see him. My consciousness goes into some sort of tilted state. I pull out a chair, sit down, and stare at his ring. No. My mind flashes through my head. No, please, no. I didn't dare touch it. I didn't want it to be real. I just sat there and stared at it. I don't know how long I sat like that, looking at the ring. When some semblance of coherent thought returned to it, I got up and went into the bedroom. The bed was still made. I looked in the closet and saw empty hangers. I looked at Don's dresser. 2 were lying on the floor, and the other 2 were pulled all the way out. All of them are empty. I fall to the floor and sob. He's gone. The love of my life is gone. I crawl over to the bed and lie down. I grab his pillow and cry into it. I can smell his scent as my tears fall onto it. Dawn. The next morning, I woke up with a beautiful hangover. I looked down and saw that I had thrown up on myself. I was about to give up when an odor reached me. I hurried to the bathroom and got under the shower, clothes and all. I washed most of the vomit down the drain. So much for all my problems. They're still there. I decided to relieve myself. I drank 1 mug of beer to relieve the hangover. I spent the rest of the day sipping beer, watching TV, and feeling sorry for myself. I decided that I had put things off long enough. I needed to move on. Fighting wasn't an option, and neither was running. I couldn't run away from this. I had to face it. Getting drunk wasn't the answer. When I sobered up, the cold spot and the anger were still there. I didn't want to sit idle any longer. I packed my bags and headed back to town. I stopped at a motel and called Emily. "Hey, Dawn, how are you doing? I'm a little worried about you. You haven't done anything like this before. Is everything okay?" "Not really. Tina and I are breaking up. She's found a boyfriend." "Oh my God, Dawn. I never would have guessed that. I thought you two had a great marriage." "Well, things can change very quickly. I didn't find out until Friday night." "I'm wondering if you should be alone at a time like this. If you need me, please let me know." "Thank you, Emily. I'm past the self-pity stage. I'm at the Motel 6 on Main Street. I'm going to find a divorce lawyer and start the process. Take as much time as you need. I'll handle everything here until you get back. I'll probably come back tomorrow. You can always call me on my cell phone. It'll be off, but I'll call you back. Goodbye, Dawn. Go easy on yourself." "Don't worry, I'll be fine." I decided to call Amy and tell her everything. "Hi, how's the best daddy in the world?" "Not so good, honey. Are you sitting up?" "Daddy, you're freaking me out. What's going on?" "I found out Friday night that your mom has a boyfriend." "You're scaring me. She wouldn't do anything so stupid." "I wish I had." She calmly announced that he'd asked her out to dinner, and the next thing I knew, she was out the door. "You're all right. You must be in a lot of pain." "I spent a couple days in the cabin. I don't feel sorry for myself anymore. Now it's just anger and resentment." "I can't believe she did that to you. I will never speak to her again. It's unforgivable." "Okay, stop. Listen to me. This is between your mom and me. She's still your mother, and if you abandon her over this, you'll lose your father too. I will cut you off so fast before you know what's happened. I'll cancel the lease on your car, cancel your credit cards, I won't pay your rent, and your tuition will be your responsibility. You will be on your own. Do you understand me?" "Dad, that was a terrible thing to do to you." "Yes, but she did it to me, not you. You will be her only family after this. You won't take that away from her. You can be angry all you want, but it's nothing more than that. You will not punish her. Do we understand each other?" "Okay, Dad. I'm just so mad at her that I want to knock some sense into her." "I understand. Chill out for a couple days and then call her. I know it'll be hard, but it's the best thing to do." "I promise, Dad. You're right. It will be hard, but I'll do it." "Thank you, sweetheart. And always remember that I love you and your mom." "I love you too. Bye." "Bye, Daddy." Next chapter. I contacted an attorney and began divorce proceedings. We discussed proposals and eventually came to a consensus. Tina would get the house, the cabin, and half of our personal savings account. He had me sign receipts disclaiming ownership of both properties. She would get no share in my company. It was a thriving business that was worth much more than both houses. We would both keep our cars, and she would keep her workplace health insurance. I filed the paperwork to pay the attorney fees. I left the filing and serving of the papers up to him. I wanted her to receive the paperwork at home if possible. For some reason, I didn't want to shit in her nest. I just wanted to leave. Tina. I pulled into my driveway and a woman stepped out of a car parked at the curb. "Hello, are you Tina Wilson?" "Yes, what can I do for you?" She handed me a manila envelope. "You have been served. Have a good day." She turned, walked to her car, and drove away. It wasn't a surprise. I'd been expecting it. Without even opening it, I knew it was divorce papers. I was overcome with guilt, depression, and anger at my stupidity. I went to the kitchen and made my usual coffee. I sat looking at the envelope like a snake ready to strike. Should I hire a lawyer and fight it? Whether I could talk Dawn out of it? Depression took over and I gave up. My stupidity had ruined my marriage and I deserved everything I got. I opened the package and signed without reading anything. I sat with a cup of coffee in front of me and stared at nothing, thinking about how I had ruined my life. If only I hadn't listened to Jen tell us about Jason. She talked with rapt attention about how good she was. I thought about it over and over again, and the more I thought about it, the more I wanted it. My problem was Don, and the fact that I had to either cheat on him or just outright do it. After a week of thinking about it, I decided that I would just do it. Don would forgive me, and we would move on with our lives. I just knew he loved me enough to leave it alone and forgive me. The next morning, I pulled Jen aside. I asked her to invite Jason to have lunch with us so I could get to know him. She knew I was married, but reluctantly agreed. Sure enough, he was handsome and had a great personality. We went to lunch a few times and agreed to meet at the Hilton that Friday. It was the fateful day my marriage fell apart. I sat and went over my failed plan in my head. As I analyzed it, I realized it was so flawed that it would never work. I had to be the stupidest woman on the planet. The first flaw was convincing myself that we would get through this and he would forgive me. The worst flaw was that I didn't think of the worst-case scenario. It never occurred to me that he would just leave me. When I saw his ring on the table, I knew he would never forgive me. We would never be together again. I walked slowly to the bedroom, lay down and cried. Don. Over the next few weeks, I had a lot of problems because of the anger, hurt, and sadness I was holding in. I had trouble sleeping, rarely woke up with the morning wood, didn't want to eat, and it was affecting my work. Emily brought this to my attention. Eventually, I gave in to her requests and found a therapist. I started seeing her twice a week. One day, Emily walked into my office with a wide smile on her face. I suspected it was one of her attempts to cheer up the boss a little. Okay, what's with the wide smile? Well, I've been thinking. You're going to be a bachelor in a few months, and there are plenty of single girls around looking for a successful guy like you. You should buy a gym membership and get fit. Yeah, that's just what I need. Out of the frying pan and into the fire. You don't know it yet, but Mother Nature won't let you quit so easily. Your time will come sooner than you expect. You think so, don't you? Yes. I've noticed that some of the single women here have started dressing a little differently than they used to. You'd be a great piece of jewelry. I guess I'll have to publish a memo about the boss being off limits. You know I'm not going to dip my pen in the company ink. Yeah, but we've all got unmarried girlfriends who'd love to get their hands on you. Okay, try to find a gym nearby and sign me up. I'll probably need a trainer too. I agreed, just to stay out of her way. I knew she had my best interests at heart. She walked out the door, shaking her fists. Tina. I definitely wasn't expecting this, but I knew it was coming. The dreaded phone call from Amy. I prayed she wouldn't leave me. I had lost my husband and I was afraid I would lose her too. I had just gotten home from work and then my cell phone beeped. I hesitated, then looked up. Sure enough, it was her. I took a deep breath and pressed the answer button. His voice was full of tension, and we got to talking. She told me that she had promised her father not to abandon or punish me. Mostly, she wanted to know how I was holding up. I assured her that I was doing fine, but I was depressed. I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. Her parting remark told me how she felt. I'm so mad at you for hurting Daddy. How I wish I could have been there to slap you. Goodbye, Mom. She never called me Mom. She always called me Mom. Tears dripped down the phone as I pressed the end call button. For a while, I sat there thanking God that she was still in my life. When we spoke a second time, she started urging me to seek professional help. I realized she was right and agreed to do something about it. I went to my primary care physician, and he put me on antidepressants and recommended a counselor. The antidepressants helped a lot, and I was able to function more or less normally. I was able to work and take care of myself. My health insurance paid for my counseling, and I saw a counselor 3 times a week. She was careful not to make me think I was stupid. She talked about it in softer terms, calling it a mistake. It was a mistake, all right. The biggest one of my life. Don. Now that the divorce was finalized, I decided to rent an apartment. I found one a few blocks from my business and signed a month-to-month lease. They wanted to sign a lease, but I threatened to leave and they agreed. I went shopping and bought all the essentials for bachelorhood. I didn't buy top ramen or Campbell's soup. That was enough for me in college. I stocked up on the occasional sandwich, bowl of cereal, and some other liquid. I mostly ate out of the house. Between counseling, working out at the gym, and work, I stayed pretty busy. A few evenings later, I was sitting around watching TV and playing on the computer. I spent quite a bit of time on a poker site I found, playing for play money. I found that I could multitask while playing poker and watching TV. A rumor got around the gym that I was getting a divorce and a few ladies started flirting. I didn't encourage them because I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I never took them up on their offers. I just wasn't ready yet. A not-so-surprising thing was happening at work. Every few days, a phone number would show up on my desk with a little note. I didn't know who they were coming from, the co-workers or their girlfriends. I would just send them to the trash can. I think Emily was behind most of them, but it was the old-fashioned. Don't ask, don't tell. I noticed one thing that Emily brought to my attention. Some of the ladies at work wore shorter skirts, and I saw a lot more cleavage. I was being looked at with wide smiles. It was good for my ego, but I stayed away from my female coworkers. Tina. The time after signing the divorce papers went better than I expected, until I started my period. To put it mildly, I panicked. Just when I thought I could get my life together, it happened. Grasping at straws, I hoped that the delay was because of everything that had happened. I decided to wait until I was due again. The next due date came, but nothing happened. I bought a test and it came back positive. I became even more depressed. Even the 0.001% chance that Dawn would take me back was now gone. God, how many things I'd done in my life for a cheap thrill that turned out to be completely wrong. I needed serious help. I had a terrible decision to make. Give birth and keep the baby? Give birth and adopt or abort? I dismissed the first option immediately. Then I thought about the second. Would I be able to carry the baby to the end of the pregnancy and then give it up? Would I be able to become attached to it late in the pregnancy and want to keep it? That would put me back to the first option, and I didn't want that. Abortion was an option I really didn't like, but I left it on the table. I wanted to find someone who had already had an abortion that I could talk to. It would give me an idea of what I would have to deal with after the abortion. I decided to talk to my counselor about it. I spent 2 sessions talking about it with my counselor. She told me about some women she knew who had had abortions and what she observed they went through. Some coped fine, some lived with the guilt for years, and one she knew was one who had committed suicide, unable to live with the thought that she had killed a child. I didn't want to deal with that, so I chose to have the baby and give it up. I made an appointment with my primary care physician and had a checkup. He only confirmed that I was pregnant and scheduled an appointment for the following month. Because of my age, he wanted to monitor me closely. I remembered all the things we had done with Amy to ensure a healthy baby. Nothing was the baby's fault, and I wanted him to be healthy for the adoptive parents. Don, my trainer, was a sturdy German guy in his 50s. He had a slight accent and was clearly fit. At first, I thought his plan was to put me in the hospital. If it hadn't been for the hot tub, I would have been there by now. I spent a half hour in it after each session. His favorite phrase was, "You work hard, you get a lot." After 3 weeks, the pain was almost gone, and I noticed a difference. He alternated my workouts using heavy weights in one session and then lots of reps with lighter weights in the next session. Each workout started with a cardio workout. I was losing fat and gaining muscle. At the end of the month, I reached my target weight. He lightened up the heavy exercises, and we worked on relief with more reps with light weights and cardio. Needless to say, I was impressed with my progress. I was starting to get a good 6-pack. Things were going great with my counseling sessions as well. The gym classes really helped me with my mental health. I started to feel human again. Anger, resentment, and sadness were quickly fading away. After 6 weeks of working out, Adolf left me with a routine to keep me in shape. I set up a schedule of exercising in the evenings twice a week. When I started working out in the evenings, another group came to me. They were mostly people like me who had jobs to take care of. Another nice thing is that I started to notice that some of the women looked better. I mentioned this to my counselor and she just smiled. She reduced my schedule to once a week. I suspected she would soon release me. I got a call from Amy. "Hi, Daddy." "Hi, honey. How are you doing?" "Good. You'll never guess which is which." "Okay, then tell me." "Mommy's pregnant." "Jesus, she is?" "Yes, she told me this morning." "Wow, the gods must be really mad at her." "I know. She's handling it pretty well. She's planning on giving it up for adoption." "That's probably for the best. I'm a little worried about her having a baby at her age. She's not 20 anymore." "Her doctor says it's fine for now. She's a real mom." "That's good. Her primary care physician will probably connect her with a good OB/GYN. Oh, and she's putting the cabin and house up for sale. Sounds like she's planning to move. Any word on that?" "She hasn't said, but I think so too." "So, tell me what your plans are for this summer. If you're planning on coming home, I need to move. I live in a small apartment. Things didn't work out with the intern, so I guess I'll move." "What about your friend with benefits?" "I had to let him go. He started making mating noises." "I think I'll start looking for a house." "Wow, that's a good idea. Buy a house with a pool and a hot tub." "When's your last day of school?" "Next Thursday. It's an afternoon class." "Do you need help moving?" "Oh God, yes. I have too much stuff to cram into the car." "Okay, I'll rent a pickup truck and we can rent a trunk for your car. I'll be here with the truck Friday morning. You call the U-Haul company and book a carrier. Get some boxes and pack everything up and get it ready to ship." "No problem. Tanya and Ash promised to help me." "Okay, I'll see you then." Bye, I love you." "I love you too." It took me 3 days to find the house I wanted. It was a 3-bedroom house with a full bath in the master bedroom and a half bath in the 2 spare rooms. The pool was a good size, with a diving board and poles for playing volleyball. The hot tub was large enough to accommodate 6 people. I was going to have to learn how to grill because there was a huge brick barbecue. It seemed like it could serve as a kitchen as well. In the apartment, I used meager equipment. For the house, I would need more. I spent the weekend at the furniture store. Monday, I had to stay home to get everything delivered. I planned to use Amy's decorating skills. I would let her finish everything. I bought a nice 60-inch LG TV that would fit my chair. To finish up, I moved the internet and cable from the apartment to the house. The Thursday before moving day, I rented a pickup truck. I made sure I had an ice chest and a few sandwiches prepared for the trip. I would grab soft drinks and other snacks along the way. Friday morning, I got up at 6 a.m., showered, dressed, and texted Amy that I was leaving. I got the usual okay in response. The trip there and back thankfully went without incident. I like incident-free. We pulled up to the house. Amy grabbed me and pulled me towards the door. "Hurry up! I want to see the house." Okay. I unlocked the door and she ran inside. She quickly ran through the rooms and stopped at the back sliding door. "Wow, Dad, this is just perfect. This pool is amazing." "Oh man. And a hot tub and a barbecue? Great choice." "Glad you approved, because you're stuck with it. Now let's unload your stuff." We moved her stuff into the room and I settled into my chair. About half an hour later, I saw her run past in her bathing suit. The sliding door hit the stopper and I heard splashing and squealing. Either she was happy with the pool or the heater wasn't working. I decided to join her and changed into my bathing suit. I made a monster cannonball right next to her and dunked her in. I had to give her a chance to get even. "Wow, Dad, you've been working out. Look at you. The ladies are going to love you. Hey, everybody, look at my dad. He's so handsome. Come and get him." Okay, calm down. The neighbors will call the police." "Do you have a girlfriend yet?" "Not yet. I'm still a little skittish." "I understand, Dad. Your time will come." Speaking of hot tubs, let's give it a try. She giggled. Apparently, she realized she needed to change the subject. I turned on the jets and we both climbed in. Do you have any plans for the summer? Not really. I was going to call some old friends, maybe hang out with them. You already called your mom. She'll want to see you. I already did. She wants me to go out to dinner tomorrow night. I think she needs to talk. That's great, but I was thinking of something to keep you busy. How about getting an internship at my company? I was thinking of setting you up with Emily. She knows more about it than I do. That's a good idea. After all, I'll get into the business as soon as I graduate. Yeah, sure. I've still got a few more years under my belt. If you decide to do it, you'll need to dress for work. I know you hate shopping, but you'll have to do it. Maybe Emily can help you with that. Wow, that's going to cost you a tidy sum. I'll do it. I hugged her tightly and kissed her. Do you want to go out to dinner tonight? Sure. Where will we go? Let's go somewhere nice. How about Romano's? That's very nice. I think I have a dress that will fit. A former friend of mine with benefits has asked me out a few times. Did you let him off easy? Yeah. He kind of knew I wasn't ready to get married. I just had to remind him of that. He was disappointed but not crushed. Not fit for marriage? Not really. He was a nice guy, but I wasn't in love. I don't think he was either. He was just in love. Oh my goodness. My sweet little daughter stirs up lust in guys. It's genetics. I grew up listening to a lot of moans and groans. That's true. That's the only thing I really miss. That and the loss of a good friend. Did you ever find out why she did it? We didn't talk at all. I think she realized it was over and there was no point. She signed the papers right away and gave them back to my lawyer. Okay, enough of the sad stuff. I'm going to go get ready. You call and make reservations for us. I picked out one of my best suits and started getting ready before Amy did. I didn't have to wait long. She walked in and I just looked at her. She actually had a dress on. She stopped and struck a pose for me. Wow, you look really good. I think my little girl has grown up. Thanks, Daddy. You look really pretty too. Everyone will think you're my sweet daddy. Great, so I'm a dirty old man. I wish I had a big diamond ring on my finger. I guess they'll think what they want. I think so too. Come on, I'm starving. Okay, load up. We pulled into the parking lot, and the young man walked to Amy's door to help her out. I watched his reaction. Her dress was quite short and exposed a lot of leg. The guy didn't miss a thing. I think she even gave him a little luck. I had to chuckle. I handed the owner my black Visa, and he took us to a table. He sat Amy down, and I noticed he checked out her cleavage. I couldn't blame the guy. She showed enough to get his attention. How about a bottle of Dom? Perfect, honey. I almost choked, and she laughed. You're a bad girl. I'm sorry, honey. I couldn't resist. I'm playing your trophy wife. I just shook my head and looked at the menu. Wow, honey. I can see the bandstand. We can dance later. Sure, why not? I still remember a few of the moves. I still remember how to tango. I know it's your favorite. We finished dinner just as the band started to warm up. Next chapter. I put Amy in charge of decorating the house. We needed a lot more than I'd bought. She took my credit card and got to work. The furniture delivery started, and gradually everything fell into place. She did a great job and we settled into the house. She took over running the house, cooking and cleaning. I knew she would make a great wife to some lucky man. One Monday morning, Emily followed me to my office. She set up my schedule for me and the department heads came in for a morning meeting. Emily carefully took notes on her notepad, asking questions as she went along. The meeting ended and I asked her a question. Edda, I've been talking to Amy and I want her to come in and familiarize herself with our work. Would you mind taking her under your wing and showing her around? Sure, but is it just for one day or for the whole summer? Well, I was thinking of doing it for the summer. If you don't agree, I'll think of another way. Sounds like she's serious. I think she is. She said she doesn't have any other plans yet. She's still a whole year away from getting her degree, and I thought a little on-the-job training might help. I don't see any problem. Bring her here and she can get her feet wet. Great. I don't want her in the pool all summer. Don't worry, I'll keep her busy. First things first, I want you to take her shopping. She doesn't have any business clothes, but I don't want her dressed so that all the guys here are hitting on her. Ha! Then I'll dress her in a burqa. She's a beautiful woman. They'll stare no matter what. I could put up a memo. Don't molest my daughter. Just stop it. I'll handle the clothes. She'll deal with the guys on her own. Okay, she's in your capable hands. I'll call her. We can start tonight. You're in charge until I get back. I handed her the company credit card. Let the accounting department handle it. She walked out the door waving her fist. Yes, shopping. I got home in the evening, and as soon as I walked in the door, the smell of food wafted over me. Hi, honey, I'm home. Amy giggled, hugged me, and kissed my cheek. Dinner's almost ready. You have time to take a shower. I reached the living room and stopped. The couch and chair were littered with bags of clothes, shoe boxes, and lots of little bags. The labels said it all. Holy shit, Amy. You bought out an entire store? Well, we did load up on their stock. I put all the blame on Emily. She picked out all the stores. Well, you'll certainly be dressed for success. Like they say, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. I knew Tuesday was going to be an interesting day. Amy was supposed to show up an hour after me. She was in the bathroom putting on makeup when I got ready to leave. I knocked on the door. She came out and I had to grin. She was only wearing part of her makeup. I'm off to the salt mines. I'll see you there. Okay, I'll see you in an hour. I'm all excited for today. It's my first day and everything has to be perfect. Just relax. Everything's going to be fine. I kissed her on the cheek and left. Emily and I met up and discussed my schedule for the day. I looked at my watch and saw that it was already 10 to 8. I stood in the doorway of my office and waited for Amy to show up. At 5, she walked in. She looked me in the eye but quickly averted her gaze and found Emily. All eyes were fixed on her. She was dressed as the quintessential businesswoman. She and Emily had expertly chosen her closet. The other women sat a little straighter and touched their hair to make sure it was perfect. Before the situation got out of hand, Emily walked her around the room and introduced her as the new intern. The tension returned to normal. I had to chuckle. No one knew she was my daughter. I wanted it to stay that way for as long as possible. I went back to my office and pounced on the inevitable pile of papers. Next chapter. On Friday, I called Emily into my office. Okay, get in here. How's she doing? No whitewashing. Pretty good for a third-year business student. She's absorbing everything like a sponge and asking good questions. I'm impressed. Excuse me while I make my dad proud. Emily walked out, giggling to herself. I pulled up the file with the specs for the wind machine company we had just acquired. They wanted us to build the drive mechanisms for their giant machines. Emily called me over the intercom. Janet is here, Dawn. Okay, send her over. Janet is in sales for a company that supplies us with metal billets. She took good care of us since we were one of her biggest customers. We used her products in production, testing, and prototypes. Janet, come on in. It's good to see you again. Hi, Dawn. Just came by to see how things are going. We went through all the orders for the last 2 weeks. She wanted to know if there had been any problems. I assured her that everything was fine. Then I remembered what Amy had said to me the night we danced. I needed a girl. Janet was a pretty redhead. Shortly after she got our account, I noticed she was a little flirty. I decided to make a move. I had known her long enough to realize that we could share business and pleasure. Her company was the perfect supplier for us, and there was no danger of them losing our account. Well, we've got the business sorted out. What are you going to do tonight at dinner? I haven't any definite plans. Do you have anything in mind? We both smiled. She knew. Where are you staying? I'm at the Holiday Inn. Okay, let's meet there, say around 6. I'll even buy you a drink. Wow, how can I turn down a free dinner? I sent Amy a text. No dinner, taking your advice. Her response was okay, with a big smiley face. A little after 5, Emily walked into my office. I've already built up my energy for the weekend. Is there anything you need to do before I leave? Nothing that I can think of. Have a good weekend. She smiled understandingly and said, You too. No secrets around here, huh? Not many. She turned and walked out. I went to what I call my cubbyhole. It's a half bath with a small closet. I keep spare clothes in there, just for times like this. I took a quick shower, shaved, and got dressed. I thought about rubbing one on, but decided to save it for Janet. If I didn't get laid tonight, it would be my own fault. I suspected she knew from the grapevine that I was getting a divorce. At the last minute, I checked my desk and headed out. I got to the Hilton 15 minutes before 6. I took a seat at the bar, ordered a square bottle of rocks, and waited. I saw her walk in and my eyes got big. She was wearing a lime green halter top. The skirt was short, flared, reaching to about mid-thigh. The dress was accompanied by sheer shorts and green shoes. In a word, she was hot. As she stepped closer, I stood up. Holy shit, Janet, you look amazing. Clearly better than in your work clothes. Thanks, Dawn. I thought you'd like it. She took my hand and we headed into the dining room. The host seated us, and I held out my Visa card to him. Write down the bill, please. Very good, sir. Your server will be right with you. Thank you. Well, Dawn, everything is already known about you. Word? Yes. Word is you're getting a divorce and working out at the gym. Is that all? There's more, but I can give away my source. Huh. I already know your source, but I won't give her away either. The server appeared, and we discussed the menu. She agreed that a bottle of Dom would be just right. We placed our order, and the cupbearer poured our drinks. I raised my glass and said, I've heard that champagne makes women's clothes fall off. Is that true? Would you like to know a little secret? Sure, tell me. I promise not to tell. You don't need champagne with me. I've wanted you since I first saw you. I knew you were married, so I didn't make a move. Now I can't wait to see how all that time in the gym has gone for you. Can you keep it under control until we eat? I skipped lunch today. I've waited that long. Another hour doesn't matter. Do you mind if I ask, why aren't you married? There must be a bunch of guys after you. I was married when I started in sales. I traveled so much that my old man started flirting with me. I didn't want to quit my job, so we split up. I didn't want to try again and have it happen all over again, so I stayed single. I understand. That's what ended my marriage, except I wasn't on the road. I never found out, but she must have found something she wasn't getting at home. I think your marriage was harder to get over than mine. It was hard. I was treated by a psychiatrist for a long time. Thank goodness it's all behind me now. She was good and put my thoughts in order. The waiter appeared with the food and the conversation ended. While we were eating, she asked, You have a daughter. Tell me about her. She's a beautiful brown-eyed college girl. She's studying business. She told me she wants to run my company when she graduates. She sounds like a smart girl. You have a great business. You're my biggest client. She's smart. It's a secret, but she's working as an intern this summer. Emily is taking her under her wing. We finished dinner and I asked, Should we order another bottle of Dom? Let's send her to my room. Yes, let's go. I ordered another bottle and signed the bill. She took my hand and we headed for the elevator. As soon as the door closed, we got down to it. Next chapter. It was about 10 in the morning when I finally made it home. Sure enough, Amy was at the pool. I headed for the hot tub. Amy watched me get out. Hey, Dad. Looks like you had a good time last night. Did you at least have dinner? Yeah, Janet and I had dinner at the Hilton. Who's Janet? She's a sales rep for Acme Metals. She services our account with them. Yeah, You handled your account last night. I guess you could say that. We had a good time. Good for you, Dad. It's about time. How are things going with you and Emily? She's great. I think she's getting everywhere on time. Yes, that's why she's so valuable to me. I never worry if I need to be away for a day or two. Did she give you a report on me? Yes. She said you absorb everything like a sponge. She's impressed, considering you're in your 3rd year of business school. I think I'm going to enjoy working there. I've met so many nice people. Have they realized you're my daughter yet? I don't think so. No one has mentioned it. Try to keep it that way. They might treat you differently if they found out. I will. By the way, Dad, how long has it been since you've had a vacation? You know, a real one, not just a weekend. Probably a couple years, why do you ask? I think you should take one, maybe for 2 weeks, to lay in the sun and drink pina colada. You think so, don't you? Where would I go? Maybe the Bahamas, Cancun, Aruba, or Hawaii? Sounds like fun. I'll think about it. Are you planning to come with me? No. I just started a new job and I don't have a vacation yet. You poor thing. Working and slaving away. Yes, you poor thing. I'm going to take a nap. I'll see you later. Yeah, you probably need a rest after last night. I just looked at her and went to my bedroom. Monday morning, I finished my morning routine with Emily and the department heads. I thought about what Amy had mentioned. It had been a long time since I had taken a real vacation. The last time I was with Tina was 2 years ago. We spent 2 weeks vacationing in Hawaii. I decided to go on vacation. Emily, come into my office, please. Yes, Don. What's up? Amy and I have been talking about taking a vacation. She wants me to lie in the sun for 2 weeks. Any ideas about that? I hear Aruba is really nice. Okay, book me a hotel and fly out this Saturday. That's a great idea. I think you'll like Aruba. Betty from HR went there last year. She said it was great. I'm going to Aruba. Next chapter. I sat and watched out the window as Aruba approached. We made a circle and made a perfect landing. I got lucky and found my luggage. It was on the same airplane as mine. I took a shuttle to the hotel Emily had booked. The bellhop unpacked my luggage and I thanked him and high-fived him. I stripped down to my boxer shorts and laid down for a nap. At 6 o'clock, I found myself at the restaurant with a pina colada and a menu in hand. A great start to a 2-week vacation. Table for one. I finished my dinner and headed to the bar. I spotted the dance floor, but the dance band hadn't shown up yet. I switched to beer and looked around the place. It was mostly couples, but a few pairs of ladies occupied a few tables. On the second beer, the band showed up and did a little warm-up. I started looking for a dance partner. When the first song came on, all the ladies without partners huddled around the bachelor party line. I mentally noted that I would have to be fast to get a dance. After the band played about 4 slow songs, the stag line looked like it was exhausted, and most of the unaccompanied ladies sat on the sidelines. Apparently, you can't always be first with the majority. I spotted a pretty girl. She looked to be in her early 30s. I approached her and asked her to dance. She said yes. It was a slow number, so we had time to chat. Her name was Betty, and she was from San Francisco. She worked as a secretary for a stockbroker. As we danced, she tried to keep her distance, and I left her after one dance. It was like dancing with my sister. I decided to have another beer, and if things didn't improve, go back to my room. I danced with 2 more women, and it was the same as the first time. As I was walking back to my room, it dawned on me that I might be the problem. I had been away from the so-called dating scene for so long that I didn't know how to nail it. I decided to just relax and let things happen. I would wait and see what attracted me. The next day after breakfast, I decided to take Emily's advice and get some sun. I walked down to the beach and found an umbrella and a couple lounge chairs. Looking around, I saw a small bar located nearby. I grabbed a pina colada and a bottle of sunscreen. I was lying there, admiring the women frolicking in the surf, and noticed a pretty girl by an umbrella 25 yards away. I had my girl-watching watch on, so I examined her closely. She was blonde with very fair skin. I decided to go for a little run. I didn't feel like taking a break from my exercise routine for 2 weeks. I walked down to the hard sand and started a fast run. When I got to what I thought was about 2 miles, I turned around and started walking back. The last 100 yards I went at a full sprint. I went back to my umbrella, took off my shirt and shoes. I jogged to the water and swam a few yards to cool off. After swimming in the water for a few minutes, I swam back and parked myself under the umbrella. I looked at the blonde, and I thought I smiled slightly. Of course, thoughts of the dirty old man flashed through my mind. I slathered on some sunscreen and lay in the sun. I quickly got hot, so I pulled myself together and went back to the room. I didn't want to fry on my first day in the sun. I took a nap and went downstairs to eat. With a nice filet mignon, baker's pie, and salad in my stomach, I wanted to go back to the room. I didn't bother with the bar anymore. I watched a couple of movies and dozed off. The next morning I had breakfast and went downstairs to get my umbrella. As I approached, I noticed a blonde woman sitting at the table next to mine. When I sat down, she looked up at me and I saw a slight smile. A few guys started talking to her, but after a few words they left. While she swam, I grabbed a cold one. I finished my beer and stood up. "I'm going to the bar to get another drink. Can I get you one?" She hesitated for a few seconds. "Yes, please. Get me one of the ones with the little umbrella. I can never remember the name of them." "I'll get it right away." The bartender smiled at my order. I watched him prepare something with rum. I went back and set down her drink. "Here you go. 1 umbrella drink. Be careful." I saw him add rum to it. It's probably something of that 150 strength stuff. "Thank you. You're so kind to bring me a drink. Why don't you join me?" "My pleasure. Thank you." I saw the engagement ring and almost walked away. With my past, the last thing I wanted to do was get involved with a married woman. For a few seconds I thought about leaving, but decided a harmless chat wouldn't hurt and stayed. "My name is Ingrid. What's yours?" "You can call me Don. It's very nice to meet you." "What brings you to Aruba?" Long story short, I'm celebrating my divorce. My daughter said I should lie in the sun and drink pina colados, so here I am. "What kind of business do you run?" "I own a robot manufacturing company. We make high-speed robots, milling machines, CNC machines, and 3D printers." "Robots like R2-D2? I grinned. "No, they're used in manufacturing." "Sounds interesting. Tell me what brings you here." "I see a wedding ring, but I don't see a husband." "We're vacationing separately. He's in Italy for 2 weeks. We live in Minnesota, and I like to come here because of the warm climate." I was quickly interested. "Separate vacations. That sounds interesting. Do you do that often?" "Usually once a year. Sven goes to Italy. He likes chubby women with hairy legs." "I don't know if I can take it. I got divorced because of an unfaithful wife. I guess I'm just a regular old-fashioned guy. One woman at a time." "It's not for everyone, I'm sure." "What about you? What kind of men do you like?" "I don't know you well enough to tell you that. Maybe later I will." "Did you mention your daughter?" "Yes, it was definitely a change of subject. We weren't going to go there yet." "My daughter, Amy. She's in college right now. Just finished her junior year. 1 more year to go." "What's she studying?" "She's studying business. She says she wants to run my company when she graduates from college." "To continue the family business, huh?" "That's her plan." "What do you and your husband do?" "He's an investment broker. He likes to play with other people's money." "And you? Do you work?" "No, I just spent his money." I had to laugh. "I've been thinking. Maybe we could meet for dinner and dance a little tonight. I've been told I'm a pretty good dancer." "I like that idea. How about 7? "Great. Okay, I'll see you then. I feel myself starting to doze off. This tropical sun is pulling all the fire out of me." "Thanks for the drink. I'll see you at 7. I showed up at the restaurant about 15 minutes early. I slipped the owner a 20 and told him I was going to meet the most beautiful blonde on the planet, and that after we ate, we wanted a table near the dance floor. He smiled, and my 20 disappeared. When she walked in, a lot of the conversation stopped and looks went out for her. Several guys received hard elbow blows to the ribs from their wives. I stood up and she put her arms around me. The owner pulled out a chair and sat her down. I slipped him my credit card and managed to get to my chair without falling over. I looked at her and all I could say was, "Wow." She giggled. "You look ravishing today." "Thanks, Don. That's always nice to hear." The cub bearer came over and I ordered a bottle of Dom. "Oh my champagne, excellent choice." We discussed the menu and settled on prime rib for both of us. I wasn't sure, but figured champagne went well with any meal. We sipped and chatted until our food arrived. As we ate, the conversation lengthened. We finished and I signaled to the host. He took us to a table and removed the reserved sign. I ordered another bottle of Dom. While we waited for the champagne, I asked Ingrid if she liked a tango. She only smiled. When the cub bearer brought our bottle, I handed him a 20 and told him to give it to the group leader and ask for a tango. We took a sip each, and I pulled her to the floor. I had always considered myself a pretty good dancer. I wondered how good Ingrid was. I soon found out. The first dance was slow and she moved into my arms. "Now will you answer my question?" "Which one?" "I asked you what kind of man you like for a change." "Oh yes, I remember. I like a man with dark hair, a little gray in his sideburns, and a strong jaw. He has to be tall enough for me to wear my 5-inch heels." The orchestra began to dance the tango I had requested. We moved back and forth, picking up the rhythm. I was putting my best foot forward, and she didn't miss a step. The song ended, and I led her back to the table. "I don't want to waste any more of my vacation. Let's go to my room." The doors closed, and we were alone. The next morning, we decided to take an excursion. There, we were informed that the tour shuttle leaves every hour. We signed up. It turned out that we couldn't tour the entire island. Almost everything was on the southwest side, so we went up and back down. All in all, an hour was wasted. Back at the counter, we asked what tourist activities they offered. We opted for a snorkeling expedition. This turned out to be a much better experience. We learned that the Southern Caribbean is home to many beautiful tropical fish. We soon learned that most of the tourist activity is nightlife. We did get a good massage and learned how bad we were at golf. We started hitting the nightclubs at the various hotels. They say time flies fast when you're having fun. And they were right. The next morning, I went with her to the airport. We checked her luggage and found a Starbucks with small tables. We sat on opposite sides and I held her hand. We had a little time until she had to go through security. You know, in another time and on another planet, I think we could have made a great couple. I had to keep pinching myself, reminding myself that all we could be is friends with benefits. I know. I was thinking the same thing, but I have a husband and friends to get back to, and you have a business to run and a daughter to finish college. We chatted some more, and then she looked at her watch and smiled at me. I should get going. Okay, let's not make this a tearful long goodbye. One last thing. Can I take a picture of you? Just as a memento of a wonderful vacation. She giggled. Okay, just one. I opened my phone and took a full-length picture of her. Thank you. I'm happy now. You have my number. If you're ever in the area, give me a call and we can at least have lunch. Who knows? I get out to the coast every now and then. Goodbye, Ingrid. I had a wonderful time. You're an amazing woman and you're very lucky to have a husband. Goodbye, Don. Good luck to you in the future. Remember, there is one out there that is meant just for you. Don't stop looking. Another quick kiss, and I turned and walked away. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done in my life. A few tears ran down my cheeks as I walked back to catch a cab. On the way to the hotel, I thought about how there was no reason for me to stay here anymore. I knew I wouldn't find a woman who could compare to Ingrid in the remaining 2 days. I decided to leave the next morning. Next chapter. We landed in Dallas, and I boarded a flight to Los Angeles. When I got to LA, I had about an hour to wait for the Southwest flight to San Diego, so I called Emily to meet me when I arrived. I didn't want to call Amy and reveal her secret. Emily started questioning me about what had happened. I told her that I had to hurry to get through security, and I would give her all the details when she picked me up. There was a long line at security, but I made it to my flight. Emily met me at the airport, and of course she had 1,000 questions. She tried to ask them all while we waited for my luggage. Of course, my luggage ended up getting lost. On the way home, I briefly told her about my trip. She wouldn't leave my side until I told her I slept with her. Then she got excited. The business fell apart while I was gone? Haha. You should get away more often. We got 3 new clients. They want to reconfigure their production lines. The engineers are already there, getting all the specs ready. Great. You know I trust you a lot. They have a printer that does in-house. They finally got the cement mix right. The contractor is testing it now. He likes it a lot so far. It cuts construction time in half. I knew I could count on you. Sometimes I think you know more about this business than I do. We pulled up to my house and I got out of the car with my bag. Maybe I'll come by tomorrow. We'll see how bad the jet lag is. Okay, goodbye, Don. I'm really glad you had a good time. I went into the kitchen and put the coffee maker on. I really needed a nice cup of good homemade brew. I felt human again. There was nothing better than coming home. With a full thermos mug, I sat down at my desk at work. I started my computer and opened my inbox. I spent the next hour deleting and replying to important emails. I closed the email page and leaned back in my chair. Ingrid popped into my mind. My heart beat faster as I remembered the wonderful time I had spent with her. I opened the picture I had on my phone and just stared at it. Thoughts were running through my mind. If only this, and if only that. She really made an impression on me, but it just wasn't meant to be. I went into the living room and turned on the TV. Poking around on the internet, I found a rerun of the game I wanted to watch. I pulled the lever of my chair and leaned back. I sat and went over every minute I had spent with Ingrid. Memories of leaving her at the airport came flooding back to me. I knew I had to let her go. I'd never see her again, except in my mind. I must have dozed off because I woke up in surprise when I heard the garage door open. Amy was home. I got up just as she entered the room. Dad, you're home. You're home. Hi, honey. I just got here a little while ago. She jumped into my lap, hugged me, and kissed me. Let me get changed and you can tell me about your vacation. I want to know all the details. Okay, I'll pour you some coffee. It's only an hour away. Okay, I'll be right back. I poured her coffee and leaned back in my chair. I knew what she wanted to know. It would probably be her second or third question. She returned, dressed in her usual t-shirt and shorts. Okay, tell me everything. Why don't you just ask questions and I'll do my best to answer them? Okay, did you stay in a nice hotel? It was very nice. It was the Marriott Aruba. Emily picked it out. I think it was 5-star. Did you meet anyone special? Yes, I met someone special. What's her name? Her name is Ingrid. She's from somewhere in Minnesota. She was beautiful. I bet she was blonde. Probably Norwegian. I think so. Her husband's name was Sven. Married? You got involved with a married woman? It's not what you think. She's married, but they're vacationing separately. Oh my. Swinger, huh? I don't know about that. I didn't ask and she didn't tell me. I think it was more of an annual thing. She said he liked the chubby, hairy legs of Italians. Ooh, hairy legs. So gross. You. Yeah, I agree. Maybe hairy pits too. Someone like that would be the complete opposite of Ingrid. I'd like to meet her, but it'll probably never happen. I doubt that either. She seemed happily married. Do you have a picture of her? I opened my phone and held it out to her. Here it is. Wow, Dad, she's really beautiful. You're really lucky. She fiddled with the picture, examining it. She could have been a movie star. Okay, enough about that. What are we having for dinner? How about pizza and a nice red wine? Sounds good. Call. Over pizza, we chatted about how things were going with Emily and whether she wanted to work here when she graduated. She told me about the high school friends she'd dated and the guys who hit on her. You mentioned the guys who hit on you. I have a strict rule. Don't date anyone from work ever. It's a rule I always enforce. Okay, I can see that. A few people have been checking up on me. I don't doubt it. If any of them start pressuring you, I want to know. They'll get one warning, and then it's business as usual. Are employees allowed to see each other? Sure, but you and I aren't. If they want to date, that's fine. Sometimes it can be a problem if employees date, because if they break up, usually one or the other gets fired. I select my employees very carefully, and I don't want to lose them over something like this. I understand, Dad. It's a good policy, and no one is pressuring me. I'm curious. Does anyone at work besides Emily know you're my daughter? I don't think so. She told me not to mention it. Our last name is so common that they haven't put two and two together yet. That's okay, but it's better if they don't find out. If someone asks, you can wave the question away. I understand what you're trying to say. I won't tell anyone. I have some plans for you after graduation. I want to make Emily my personal assistant, and you can start working as her secretary. That way, everything she does will come across your desk as well. And after a while, I'll be moving you around all the departments. It might turn up some people's noses, but they'll be able to put up with it. Emily is a really good employee and knows how to explain things. I can see why you rely on her so much. She makes my job so much easier. That's why I pay her so well. I don't want anyone stealing her. We finished eating and Amy picked up the remote. Of course, she chose a chick flick movie. I dozed through the whole movie, but finally gave up and went to bed. Next chapter. Things were going well over the summer, both in business and in my personal life. We were bringing in new clients, and I was just about ready to look for another building. Emily wanted to hold off because a few clients were due to fall off in September. I took her advice. Things were working out for Amy. She really liked working for me. Emily had nothing but praise for her. She met a friend of a friend of a friend, and he became her friend with benefits. I met him, and he seemed like a nice guy, but I could see that he was not the right mister for her. I guess my dream of grandchildren will have to wait until after high school. My life was going about as well as one could expect from a single guy. Janet came to visit me every 2 weeks, and we had Friday night get-togethers. Things went smoothly for about 4 weeks, and then she started canceling several times. I saw her change. She became emotionally distant. I think she fell in love with me and had to let it go. By mid-August, things were back to normal. I was fine with that because I picked up a couple buddies at the gym. At the end of August, Amy had to go back to school. I helped her move all of her stuff except for the work suits she and Emily had bought. She shared an apartment with Ash and Tanya, 2 of her buddies. It took me a while to get used to living alone again. I missed my little simpering Amy. I started spending more time at work and at the gym to pass the time. I heard about Tina from Amy. She rented out both the cabin and the house. I knew she would be leaving soon. Her pregnancy was going well, despite her age. The information from Amy about her mother was slowly fading away. I knew Amy was in touch with her, but she was talking less and less about her to me. That was fine with me. One day in November, I drove by Tina's house and saw that the realtor's in process sign was gone. I guessed she had closed. I wondered if she would call me when she was going out of town. Turns out she didn't. Amy told me she moved to Seattle at the end of September. I never heard a word from her. She probably didn't want me to see her with her pot belly. After the move, Amy never mentioned her again. Next chapter. In late March, I sat at my desk, buried in papers. My cell phone buzzed. I looked at the caller ID and almost peed my pants. I took a deep breath and pressed the answer button. Ingrid, is that really you? Hi, Dawn. Yes, it's me. This is a pleasant surprise. What's going on? Well, I'm at the Los Angeles airport, waiting for my luggage. I see. What brings you to Los Angeles? Let's call it the destination of my decision. I don't understand. This is where I have to make my decision. I'm calling you to see if you're involved with someone. If so, I'm going to Hawaii. If not, then I'd like to come to you. I think I understand. Why don't you put Hawaii on hold, go down to the Southwest Airlines terminal and get your ticket. I'll be waiting for you and meet you at the airport. Okay, as soon as I get my luggage. I'm really looking forward to seeing you. I can't believe this is happening. I didn't expect to ever hear from you again. Me neither, and we have a lot to talk about. Yes, we have a lot to talk about. Now hurry up and get on the plane. I'll be waiting for you. Bye, Dawn. Bye, Ingrid. Set. I pressed the end call button and let out a battle whoop. Emily ran into my office. Dawn, there's nothing wrong with you. What was that? You're not going to believe this. Do you remember that girl I met in Aruba? I think I do. Her name was Ingrid? Yes, and she's on her way to San Diego right now. She just called me. Things are getting interesting around her. I guess we won't see each other for a few days. Right. I let you know. We haven't talked much on the phone. As soon as I find out, you'll know. From the look of you, you might as well head home. You'll be of no use for the rest of the day. All right, please call Southwest Airlines and book Ingrid Jorgensen on a flight from Los Angeles to here. Okay, now get out of here. I'll take care of the paperwork on your desk. I grabbed my coat and hurried toward the exit. Of course, I started thinking about all the possibilities involving Ingrid. Everything was swirling around in my head. I managed to get home without killing anyone. Emily texted me the flight number and arrival time. I swept through the house, packing up my things, and started the vacuum cleaner. All the dirty dishes went into the dishwasher. I checked the hot tub to make sure the water was hot. Dirty clothes went into the washer, and I put clean linens on the bed. I changed into my casual clothes and left the house. On the way out, I hit a traffic jam near exit 125. I thought to hell with it, drove on the side of the road and took that exit. When I got onto Interstate 94, I was struggling to keep my speed up, so I took a few deep breaths to calm down. I got to the airport and parked at the curb. A security guard came up and made me move into the parking lot. As I drove to the parking lot, I wondered if his parents were married. I found her standing by the baggage carousel. I walked up behind her. Hey, baby girl, want some candy? She turned around and hugged me tightly. She didn't say anything, just snuggled tiredly against me. Of course, I was helping. She looked up at me and I saw tears in her eyes. I kissed her and gave her another hug. I was panting so hard I couldn't say anything. I couldn't believe how good she felt in my arms. All the memories of our time in Aruba were surfacing and bubbling up in my head. My eyes glazed over, as did hers. Finally, we untangled ourselves and waited for her luggage. Ingrid, you have no idea how happy I am to see you. I know, Dawn. I feel the same way. I have a lot to tell you. She blotted her eyes with a tissue. Then she smiled and blotted mine. Wait until we get in the car. You do the talking and I'll drive. She clutched lethally at my arm, and we headed to my car. I loaded all my stuff and left the cart standing. I drove out of the airport, and she began her story. Okay, here's the thing. I went home and visited the doctor. It was one of our rules before we started vacationing separately. Sven called and said he wanted to stay another week. My antenna immediately went up. I knew something bad was going on. He didn't say why he was staying. He just said he'd explain everything when he got home. 5 days later, he came home and said he wanted a divorce. He had met someone and fell in love. By then, I wasn't surprised anymore. It was just as I thought it would be, and I had a little time to prepare myself so the shock wasn't as bad. But even knowing it was going to happen, it still hurt. He told me that he brought her with him, and she would be staying at the hotel until we got things settled. We settled the details and his lawyer filed papers with the court. He moved into the hotel with his woman, and I stayed in the apartment until it was over. When it was over, he admitted that he had been flying here 3 or 4 times a year for the last 2 years. I had no indication that he was cheating on our agreement. He bought out my share of the condominium, and I moved into a small apartment to plan my future. The first thing I thought of was you, but I had to wait a while before I got over him. I didn't want to take on some of my misery and possibly bring it down on you. When I was sure I was ready, I flew to Los Angeles and called you. I don't mean to pry, but financially you've been doing okay? Actually, things were better than okay. You see, Sven had an amazing ability to pick out good investments. He was like a psychic. He'd leave his personal laptop at home, so I'd get a little peek at what he was doing. At first, I just invested small amounts through another broker. As time went on, I invested larger and larger amounts. When the amount reached $100,000, I realized that I would be paying a lot of taxes on the profits. I went online and created an offshore corporation. I transferred my entire portfolio there. A few of my investments didn't work out, but on average I was doing well. When we divorced, my fortune was $1.2 million. Sven didn't know about my trades. It was my fun little secret that I kept from him. Turns out he was worth a lot more than that, and his money was offshore too. We sorted out the assets we had in the States like a court would. Our offshore stuff we put into one pile and divided it up. I ended up with a little over $3 million. So all in all, I did pretty good. We're doing a kind of confession thing here. You want to know a little more about my breakup? I know there's a lot I didn't tell you in Aruba. It's not hard for me to tell you. It's a story now. It's up to you if you want to know. I don't need to know. It's just like you said. It's all history now. Okay, but there's something I want you to know. When I left you at the airport that day, it was all I could do to hold myself together. I wanted to turn around and hug you again, but I knew I couldn't. I knew you had to leave and there was nothing I could do about it. I actually cried on the way back to the hotel. I left the next day. It took a while, but I had to accept that I would never see you again. I guess my reminders that we were just friends with benefits weren't convincing enough. It took a while, but I managed to hide the memories in a special place in my heart. I knew I had to move on. When you called, it all came back. I'm glad you still have feelings for me. I went through the same thing. We probably affected each other more than we'd like to admit. In fact, realizing that you might be around helped me get over the breakup with Sven. You had a big impact on Amy, too. I showed her a picture of you. She thought you could be a movie star. Yes, in my dreams. Speaking of Amy, when can I meet her? In person, probably at Easter. If you want, we can chat on Skype. Skype? Is that the kind of video chat? Yeah, it's great. It's like being in the same room. Okay, let's do that. It's more personal than a phone call. I turned onto my street and pulled into the driveway. I flicked the remote and pulled into the garage. Here we are. Come on in and look around while I unload your stuff, okay? I can't wait to see everything inside. It looks so nice from the outside. It's so different from what I'm used to. No elevator, no doorman, no parking. What's the name of this town? It's Alpine, sort of like a bedroom community for the rest of the county. We got out of the car and I opened the door for her. 4 trips later, I looked around and found her standing in the back lot. Well, what did you think? Oh my goodness, your house is beautiful. It's so warm and cozy. I had Amy decorate the house. She did a great job. Yeah, she did great. I can't wait to try out the pool and hot tub. The pool is heated, so we can use it any time of year. It's just that you'll have to rush back inside in the winter. Oh my goodness, this is heaven. Whoever came up with this was a genius. I could stay here forever. Let's go see if Amy's around. It's time for her to meet you in person. We went into my office and I started up my computer. Ingrid stood next to me and watched me. I started up Skype and set up my webcam. I sent Amy a message. Skype. She replied with her usual, okay. A few minutes later, her face appeared on my monitor. She set up the webcam and sat back down. Hi, my favorite daddy. What's going on? Hi, sweetie. I have a little surprise for you. Oh, great. I love surprises. Remember when I was in Aruba, I told you that I met a very unusual woman? Yes, her name was Ingrid. I reached out and placed Ingrid in my lap. Meet Ingrid. I watched as her mouth opened. Her mind tried to comprehend what she was seeing. She brought her hand up to her mouth. Hi, Amy. It's so nice to finally meet you. Dad? Ingrid? Oh my goodness, it's you two. Ingrid, you're here, I mean there. I don't know what I mean. My God, I can't believe it. You're together. She squealed, got up and ran around the chair. She sat back down. Oh my God, I'm so happy for you guys. I'm going to pee my pants. This really happened. Yeah, it really happened. She came in this morning. Holy shit. I have a million questions. Tanya, Ash, come and have a look. My dad has a girlfriend. Come and see. Two faces came into view. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Ingrid. Nice to meet you. Wow, Dawn. You're really lucky. Ingrid, you're so beautiful. I guess I'm the lucky one. Hey, we're both lucky. I'm so happy for you two. Never in my wildest dreams did I think this would happen. I didn't think either, honey. She just called out of the blue and here she is. Oh my God. I just realized I'm going to have a stepmother. Ah, wait a minute. Don't get ahead of yourself. She just got here. Huh. I can tell by looking at you two. It's going to happen. I just know it. Ingrid didn't say a word. She just leaned over and kissed my cheek. Ha, Dad. You're done for. You don't stand a chance. I can see the big hook in your mouth. I'm so happy. You two really hit it off. What a wonderful day. I have to agree with you. I can't wait for Easter. Ingrid, we'll definitely go shopping. I know all the good stores. Sounds like fun. There's no such thing as too much shopping. We should get going. I've introduced her to the hot tub. Now it's time for the pool. Bye, honey. Bye, Daddy. Bye, Ingrid. See you at Easter. I closed Skype and shut down the computer. And for the rest of the week, I took her around the city like we were tourists. We went to Balboa Park and walked around it. We toured the USS Midway, went to Legoland and the zoo. UCSD had a pretty good theater program, so we saw some plays and of course went to the beach. She really liked the Gaslight District. Some of the best restaurants are located there. Dinner and dancing were on our entertainment list. I took her to the Mercedes dealer and leased a car for her. She was a little wary of driving on the famous California freeways, so she just followed me all the way home. I drove safely in the right lane. The rest of the time I had her drive while I navigated. After a few times, she gained confidence and did fine. Unfortunately, our little honeymoon had to end, and I had to go back to work. I didn't want to abuse the relationship with Emily. She did everything I asked, but it wasn't fair if she did her job and I did mine. On Monday, I went to work. Of course, everything was fine. She was doing a great job as always. She didn't ask many questions about Ingrid and me, but she knew from the smile on my face that everything was fine. Coming to Ingrid's house every night was easy and familiar. Next chapter. Amy came home for Easter vacation, and she and Ingrid bonded in 2 minutes. I barely interfered with their relationship. I hid at work, and they did every girly thing they could think of. I don't know which one of them came up with the idea, but they colored Easter eggs and I had to hunt for them. They had a good laugh as I wandered around the backyard holding my little red and pink basket. We flew to Amy's graduation ceremony. Along with 3 other graduates, she had received the award for the highest GPA in her business classes. Of course, I was a proud papa. I had to rent a truck again, and back they drove back together in Amy's car. Once she got home, she found an apartment, and they spent a week getting her settled in there. Once again, I didn't get involved. Amy went back to work, and 2 weeks later it was revealed that she was my daughter. It went well because everyone remembered her from last summer. An interesting thing happened to Amy. One of our orders from Acme Metals was very unsuccessful, and the vice president of sales showed up to fix the problem. He met Amy at one of our meetings. After the meeting, they disappeared, and the next night they went out to dinner. It turned out that his father was the owner of the company. I started teasing her about the merger. As it turned out, they dated for about 6 months and she proposed to me. She said yes, and I placed an order for 3 grandchildren. Amy offered to have a double wedding, but Ingrid and I declined. We discussed it, but we both felt it was too soon. To get even for our refusal, she started calling Ingrid Mom. Amy asked me if I would have a problem if Tina came to the wedding. I replied that I would be disappointed if she didn't invite her. I even offered to put her up in a hotel. She showed up with a guy in tow. I didn't see wedding rings on either of them. If Tina was having a hard time being around Ingrid and me, it didn't show. Just before the wedding, Tina introduced him to me. I shook his hand and we chatted for a while. In one form or another, he worked in the medical supplies industry. I had no problem meeting Tina. It was water that went under the bridge and headed for the ocean. I walked Amy down the aisle and handed her to Sam. He looked a little pale as they recited the vows, but he managed not to pass out. Ingrid had done everything she could for the reception. There was live music, a huge amount of food, and an open bar. The newlyweds stayed for a long time, and we danced all the dances. And yes, I danced with Tina. We talked about how happy we were for Amy. No old wounds opened up. I got the feeling that she had gotten over it too. Ingrid and I, Sam's mom and dad, Tina and her date sat at the same table. I was pleased with the way the evening had turned out. Nothing had happened to ruin it for Amy and Sam. The end. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. So subscribe to my channel and watch the next video.